Good morning, Judith.
Good morning, Sonya.
Welcome to the Coach's Cup. I'm Sonya Green from SonyaGreenCoaching.com.
And I'm Judith Fender. I'm one of the coaches with the No BS weight loss system.
And we are here this morning talking about a topic that kind of made the rounds on Facebook a couple of months ago. It
Mhm.
was not really a meme, but a little story that made the rounds. It was called Run the Dishwasher Twice.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I'm kind of assuming that several of you probably encountered it, because it ran a lot in the circles that I hang with on Facebook. So if you're into self development, you probably saw it. Judith, you want to just give us kind of a
Yeah.
summary of what it's about?
So it's written from the perspective of like the therapist. So the client is when in the comes for counseling, and she is saying like that she's overwhelmed and she's struggling, and he's like, well, what's the problem? And she didn't really want to answer it, but it was that she just didn't want to go home and do the dishes, that the
Mhm.
dishwasher sucked, and she had to scrub them twice to put them in the dishwasher. And and she just really didn't want to do the dishes. And he was like, "Oh, wait, what? Run the dishwasher twice." And so she was like, "But you can't you're not supposed to run the dishwasher twice." And he's like, "Who says? If you hate it, run it, just stick them in there and do it, keep it in there twice." And so, in the end, you want me to go on and how it turns out, or
Yeah, I mean basically that's the point. That's kind of the
so yeah,
light bulb moment.
the light bulb moment is she runs the dishwasher twice, and from making that one small change and getting the thing that was most burdensome to her, that it gave her new perspective, and she continued to grow from there, where she was she says that she felt like she had conquered the dragon, and she began, like, I believe she was depressed, and she began like
Yeah.
bathing on the regular, and she began
Even though she laid down in the shower to take a shower the first day.
right, right. I think I missed that. Oh yeah, says she didn't get out of bed for it was from her perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
um and that she just slowly progressed from that point on, that
Mhm.
those small changes just were huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we had talked about it and we wanted to look at it because I think there's a lot of wisdom in it. And there's also I I know that with clients that I've seen and in my own past, sometimes it feels like everything
Mhm.
is wrong. What's in fact, I think in the opening of that, the therapist asks her what the big problem, and she goes, "Oh, life." And sometimes, I
I do
mean,
that.
yeah, when we get in that space, it's n it's not one thing, it's everything. "Oh, it's just everything." And he's like, "No, no." He really pushed her. What's the one thing? And even though she felt like it was a ridiculous answer, the one thing was the dishes. Something eh, that's conquerable. And I think in my own experience, how many times when I'm really forced to, I can narrow it down to something that's so small and insignificant, but I have let it mushroom into this huge thing that I can't get around.
Mhm.
And I think that's the first lesson that I took from it, is that overwhelm is always there ready to get you, right?
Oh my word. Oh my word.
And we have spent, an entire podcast before talking about overwhelm because it's such a big deal. But I would challenge listeners that when you start using inflated language like that, oh, life is too much. It's just all too much. Get really specific, challenge yourself to narrow in and find that one thing. What is your what is your dirty dishes?
Oh,
What's
that's
holding you back?
that is so good. When we podcast, I sit here and I listen to you, and my brain travels. Like it's just like that is so good. Like I'm thinking, like really, it boils down to like in these moments, if you just pull back or zoom in and
Mhm.
just come to the moment and what is going on, because in the moment nothing's really wrong. What can you do right now?
Yeah. What's one thing? And
Mhm.
I practice this, and I do think you have to practice it. It's not something
Mm.
that it's not one of those natural things that we do. Overwhelm seems pretty natural. Our brains explode
Mhm.
everything. Um Forcing yourself to focus is not something that's natural to me yet anyway. Excuse me. But just really stopping myself and saying, "No, that's not right. It's not everything. What is it? What
Mhm.
is it really that's bothering me?" And
Mhm.
sometimes I'll just sit for
Mhm.
5 minutes. I even set a timer sometimes
Mhm.
because I'm like, "I don't have time to do this." And then I think, "No, I've got 5 minutes." And I'll set a timer and I will just think for 5 minutes, "What is it? What is this thing that seems so big and huge?" And it's usually something small that I don't want to do.
Which is so interesting as you're saying that, I'm thinking about, the concept of what Monday hour 1.
Mhm.
And I have been trying to lean into creating my process and
Mhm.
putting things on the calendar and just accomplishing it in that time frame. And like that is in essence what I hear you saying. Like when if we give ourselves, put it on the calendar, say it's as good as done, and move on. And I'm shooting on myself. I think I should be better. I should be better at this Monday hour 1. But because
Mhm.
I have the tendency to, I will plan for it, but I will not get it done in that hour because I will make the problem bigger than it is.
Yes.
My brain gets, "Woo, it's this," and
Yeah.
no, come back. It's 30 minutes and get this done.
Yeah. Yeah. I um and shitting on yourself is the next step, right? So after you've identified whatever it is that's holding you back, if you have to say I should be or I have to, then that's the moment you need to stop yourself and really examine what comes after that. I should be better at this by now.
Mhm.
Why? Why should you? Probably because you're measuring yourself by somebody else's measuring stick. And you
Guilty.
didn't even see their journey. You just see their result.
Mhm. Their highlight reel.
Yes, right.
Mhm.
Instead of
Mhm.
their blooper reel.
Right. I'm living the blooper reel over here.
And sometimes that's our journey, right?
It is. I'm glad we're laughing about it because, like, it just feels better to even think, like, it really is. It's just, it's just life. It's nothing's gone wrong here.
No. And when we boil it down, we talked about this on the last podcast. We talk about it a lot, I guess. But there are very few things that we have to do or that we should do. Most of the time, we have accepted somebody else's standard as our own, and
Mm,
we've just laid it on top of us,
mm,
even if it's not a good fit.
mm. Yeah, my brain goes to thinking about, weight loss and society standard, what media teaches us.
Mhm.
The yardstick we measure ourselves by, the body standards, and the unrealistic body standards. And there's some statistic like of the bodies we're exposed to on social media, only like 2% of the population could even attain that. It's just so like bizarrely minute, like,
Yeah.
whoa.
And yet
Anyway.
that's the standard.
Mhm.
I have to look like that.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
should look like that.
Mhm.
It's
Sonia,
easy. What?
have you seen the video, the poodle standard poodle talk?
Uh-uh.
It's Kara Lowenthal mentions it in one of her podcasts, and then so you go to YouTube, and it's called Poodle something. I'll probably have to get it to you, put it on the show notes. But it's about where dogs are just dogs,
Mhm.
and so they don't like go to the poodle park. They don't go to the park and like, oh, look at her,
Yeah.
she.
She's living the standard.
Right, right. They all are like, accepting, and they're not trying to be create the standard for themselves. They're just, the Chihuahua is the Chihuahua, the Mastiff is the Mastiff,
Yeah.
and they don't try to become something else. And why are we doing that? As a species, why are we doing it? It's cute. It's like a 3-minute video, four
I
minute
love that. I'll have to look that up. But
video.
yeah, I mean, I think of some of the darkest periods of my personal life were when I really was trying to live under someone else's standard.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that doesn't work well.
Mhm.
Um Either you live a very unfulfilled life and you get bitter and resentful. We talked about people pleasing. You and you know people like this who have lived their whole life with so much resentment.
Mhm.
They're just, all the joy has been sucked out of their lives, it seems like.
Mhm.
And so you either have that or you have people who um they get to a point and they kind of just blow it up.
Mhm.
And, that's what I did. When I was about 35, I decided, "Well, I'm not gonna live by these standards anymore," and I just kinda blew it up. And that was not the way to go either.
Mhm.
That had its own set of problems and repercussions and heartbreak but it did really make me sit down and reexamine, okay, what is the standard I am going to live by? Because I don't want people to hear us talking about this and think, okay, well, there's no rules, there's no standards. Of course, there are, but we have to determine those. And I think with weight loss, you know, I see women in the tribe all the time talking about, well, what should my weight, where should I stop or um, where should I, decide that I have met my goal? And it's different for every one of them.
Even I can talk about my own personal journey with like figuring out a number, and
Mhm.
I see the threads as well, and but speaking of my own personal journey, um, I keep thinking, oh, I really just need to lose 10 more pounds. Like it'll pop up, and then
Mhm.
it's taken me. I've been 3 years at this body, at this weight, and maintained it with ease. Love my lifestyle, run half marathons, lift weights, like I do all the things. And absolutely, I love my shape. But somewhere in the back of my brain, when it catches me off guard, and I'm like, yeah, 10 pounds would be really great. I'm like, what in the
For
world?
whom?
Or exactly. I'm like, you're living the life here. You love what you eat.
Yeah.
You fuel your body. You get performance. Who for?
Yeah.
This is the time. Let's just be happy. Let's enjoy
Yeah.
this. This is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and I think that's where we can really give ourselves this gift of throwing off other people's standards
Mhm. Mhm.
and deciding what's the standard that's going to work for me
For
in
me.
my very specific life. We've talked before that sometimes young mothers have a very different life than what we have right now. I mean, I have a 7-year-old, but um our kids are my other kids are more grown and yours have left the nest. And it's what works for me isn't going to work for you. What works for you isn't going to work for a mom who has small children, or a career person who doesn't have any children, or, there's everybody has their own goals, their own standards. And we don't need to be so focused and become overwhelmed with what society's expectations are.
Right. Again, I'm thinking about that poodle science video. I think it's called poodle science.
Poodle science. Okay. I'm in. I like that. I'm kind of the basset hound. That's how I see myself.
Oh, well, now I'm like, now I can't decide. I'm going to have to think about it. Huh.
Short legs and arms. That's me. I don't have long ears, but
I think I
maybe.
might be like a boxer. I'm not leggy, but like beefy. I'm not
Yeah.
quite the bulldog.
Yeah.
Definitely not a poodle.
No, no. I don't aspire to be a poodle.
No, no, but I love wiener dogs. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not a wiener.
Yeah. We should look at this from the point of view of dogs. But so the other reason, that I think about this, and I think about how useful it is because we can get caught up in what everyone else's standard is. But the real danger of that, number one, is overwhelm. But even worse than the overwhelm that can come with that is we cannot create and innovate from a space of feeling like we have to work
Yeah,
within somebody else's design.
it's so true. It's so true. I'm experiencing that. Again, I go back to the
Yeah.
when I come back to the Monday hour one, it's this I have this standard, I'm shooting on myself, and it blocks me from progress. It blocks me from finding my next level.
Yeah.
I'm aware.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, Monday Hour One, for those of you who don't know, Brooke Castillo and the Life Coach School, they talk about Monday Hour One as a way to organize your life. You plan in your first hour on Monday, you plan your week, you plan the things, you empty your brain of everything that you're supposed to do, and then you put it on the calendar, and then you honor it. And I don't think that Brooke would say to anybody, you have to sit down on Monday at 9 a.m. and
Mhm,
do it at this time.
mhm, mhm,
It's a model
mhm.
that one can choose and can work around. Um,
It's an ideal, and no
it's
one
an
does it perfect.
ideal. Yes. Well, there is no perfect though.
I
That's the whole point. What works for you to get you organized? It's the same with
I'm
planning.
like, "Are you asking me?" Don't do
No, I'm not gonna touch that. I'm not gonna touch that right now. It's a work in progress, and you're figuring it out.
It is. What is my note here? I'm comfortable consuming and I need to be producing.
Oh, wow. That sounds really smart.
Yeah,
Who told you that?
someone gifted me that.
But, we can't grow if we are constantly imposing other people's standards, on our own lives. And I was thinking about Elon Musk this morning, because my husband and I have been talking about the new car standards, how, gasoline cars are going to be obsolete probably within our lifetime if we live long enough, which is I mean, talk about blowing your mind. But what if Elon Musk had said, there's so many car companies. They've really got this car thing down. I don't have anything to add to that. Then we wouldn't have these really the first, I think, strong market of electric cars that we're seeing that are really changing our world.
Mhm.
And it's easy to think in our own lives on much smaller terms for me than the electric car, but it's easy to think that's already been figured out. I can't add anything to that. And if we think that way, then we're right. We can't. But what's in there, if we don't try to ascribe to everybody else's standard, if we try to figure it out from our own perspective, our own unique perspective.
Mhm.
And weight loss is something like that.
Mhm.
Um, we can apply everybody's rule. My goodness. Talk about going on the internet and getting sucked down a rabbit hole. Start looking at all the weight loss ways to lose it. You can lose it eating only beets. You can lose it never eating beets. You can, there's some crazy stuff out there. But in the end, the way you're going to lose it is deciding on your own what works for me
Yeah.
and being open to new ways. I have a client who, several years ago lost, she and her husband both lost a lot of weight, eating a plant-based diet.
Mhm.
And now, whenever she had regained a lot of that over several years, and so she is convinced when we talk about weight loss that she has to replicate that past experience to lose her weight.
Mm. Mm.
And I, that's boxing her in,
Mhm.
I think, because and we've talked about this, she and I have talked about this, but if that's the only way you think you can do it, yes, you did it before that way, but it wasn't sustainable. You gained it back. So if you're in your brain, you have closed off every avenue except I can only lose weight with a plant-based diet, then you've really closed yourself off to opportunities to innovate.
It,
What
it
can I do?
it's even to hear you say that and thinking about the mindset that I can't honestly say that I wasn't there, thinking that there was just one way and that was the right way, and learning to trust yourself and to be willing to, oh gosh, I want to put out so many things into this, but just trust yourself and to be willing to try something different and to be in the moment. And oh, I can't get on like the expectation. I totally
Yeah. Well, and it's the same in business. This is when I coach women in business, people want, and I'll tell you what sells in marketing today is a marketing plan. Oh,
mm,
I'll give you my email templates. I'll give you this. I'll give you this. That's what sells in marketing today. But if you listen to Corinne, if you listen to Brooke, if you listen to, all of the business coaches who I think are really, they're being honest. It's not the news everybody wants to hear, but it boils down to it's your journey. There's no
yeah,
one way to do it. There's no how. There's no secret recipe.
yep.
And so people don't want to hear that. My students, they don't want to hear that. Well, I need a study guide. You've got the notes. You took notes your way. I can't spoon feed you. It's the experience that's the education. And
That's it right there.
yeah, it's the journey.
It's the journey.
That's
And we're
what we need
all,
t-shirts. It's the experience, that's the education.
I love it.
And it's the experience. Sometimes you got to run the dishwasher twice.
Mm.
That's your
Nice
journey for the
tie-in.
day.
Nice tie-in. I
Yeah.
like, there are no rules.
Except the ones we decide on, right?
Mhm.
And we need to be kind enough to ourselves to know when our own rules are getting in our way.
Mhm.
Sometimes we just got to be willing to figure out a new how, and our brains don't like to do that. I'll
Mm-mm.
end with this. You have to learn to think a new way to get
Mhm.
a new result,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that does not come easily because our brains love They love putting things on repeat.
Well, because that's how they operate
It's efficient.
on it being efficient. Exactly. It's not a thinking plan. It's an efficient
Right.
plan. How can I be more efficient?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I have wrestled with my microphone. I hope that's not coming through to listeners.
I'm going to tell you what it is right here live on air.
Okay.
It's the earrings. They clink and they I get you get feedback from your earrings.
Oh, I'm not getting that. It's not
Oh yeah.
fitting right. It's falling off my ears.
Oh. But then
Like,
when you do that, then it like the earrings.
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Rude.
Anyway, so
We're just
so
live here, folks.
but
Live.
we're figuring it out. We're designing our own journey as we go, as we do all the time,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And I'm not going to shit on myself if I have to run the dishwasher twice or I have to, figure out that my calendaring for this week didn't work, but that doesn't mean I'm going to throw it in. I'm just going to try something new next
Yeah.
week.
I'm gonna work on one thing at a time. One and done.
Yeah.
Next.
Yep. All right. So, any takeaways for our readers? Any readers? I've been
Readers.
writing too much lately. Our listeners.
Well, I think just to take this one step again, the poodle science video for a visual follow up on rules and standards, and where do you want to put yourself? How do you want to show up when the world is placing expectations on you, or when you're placing expectations on yourself? Consider the accepting yourself where you're at, no matter where you are on this journey, whatever your journey is at the moment, and extend yourself some grace. And
Yes.
yeah, keep going.
Our worlds are so much better when we give ourselves the grace that we would naturally
Mhm.
give our best friends.
Yep. Yep.
We're
Yep.
our own best friends, sisters. So,
That's it.
yeah. All right. Well, we will see you next week. Until then, for those who some people have been interested in coaching, we both have open slots right now.
Well,
So, yeah. Well,
I don't
well,
know.
or we can get on a waiting list.
Yes,
Some of us have open slots right now. Some of us are, but either way, if you're looking for coaching on your career, confidence, or other ways to just be fantastic women, you can check me out at sonyagreencoaching.com. And if you're looking for a weight loss coach,
or a weight loss program, movie the No BS weight loss program, and that is at fit
PNP Tribe.
pmptribe.com,
Yeah.
and it's fit and fat 411.
Yeah.
We have two that you can learn more.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye.